welcome to week 3. Thank you guys for being so flexible with the kind of last minute change of date and time for our meeting this week. I just wanted to let you guys know, I know I said it in the announcement, but in case you missed it, you guys are all doing fantastic. I really appreciate the communication and the participation and just how active you guys all are in our Canvas and in our discussions, and it's fantastic. It's been a pleasure so far, and I'm having a lot of fun. I hope you guys are too. This week, our module for the week is, let me pull it up, talking about design concepts and principles. And I just kind of call it Design 101. It's our 1-week crash course on graphic design and kind of what digital design means and some of the terms that are used in the industry that are important for you to know. And these are things that it's a lot of book learning, it's a lot of reading and kind of looking at images and illustrations and web references to support the vocabulary and the terms that you're learning. But these are things that you will hear over and over and over again as you work in any sort of design, whether it's print design or web design, illustration, animation. These are real important things to learn, and they'll give you a basis and a foundation for working in digital design. So we touch on it real quickly, but you'll use them again and again. And the way we practice using the concepts and terms is in the reviews that we'll be doing, when you'll get a chance to review existing design, historically famous graphic design, print design, web design, advertising. And then when you give each other critiques and reviews and kind of classmate support on your projects, you're going to want to, again, use the terms and the concepts and kind of start getting them into your everyday thinking and focus as designers. So that's what this week is all about. We're midweek already. I mean, it's Wednesday. I guess it's not even midweek, maybe a third of the weekend. Let me just touch base with you all and see, did anyone have any questions about last week, about the Mac OS and just kind of going over some basic file management stuff and just being on a computer and what it means to work on a computer? Were we all pretty happy with last week's? Cool. Okay, everybody was good. I want to mention one thing before I forget. I always wait on the discussions. I grade everything kind of as it comes across my desk, except for the discussions. If you haven't commented on 2 of your classmates, I'll wait till Monday morning to give you a chance to reply to 2 of your classmates. But just know that for full credit for the discussion participation, you are required to reply to at least 2 of your classmates' discussions. If you just post your own reply, that's awesome, and you'll get partial credit. But always try to reply to 2 of your classmates as well, so we can get that interaction and just the general conversation going. You guys are mostly doing amazing. It's almost more than I can read, and that's like the first thing that I want to do is just go on and spend all of my time reading the posts, because it's a really interesting, fun part of the class. So you guys are doing fantastic, but I wanted to let you know, for full credit, make sure you reply to 2 of your classmates. And then the other thing, I know I said this before, but let me just say it one more time. We're only in week 3 to make sure everyone's heard it. You can turn your work in late. You'll be marked down as far as getting full credit unless you let me know ahead of time the reason, why you're needing a little bit of extra time, and then I will work with you. You can turn assignments in all the way up till the second to last week of school. So just so you know that, I wanted to make sure everybody was on the same page with that as well. So any just general class questions before I cover the content really quick? I think it's going to be kind of a quick week again, because the content is all kind of in one bucket. I also wanted to give the opportunity, I know 2 of you have turned in your design movement and style report already, and they're both gorgeous, and I wanted to give you the opportunity, if you would like to just present it over the Zoom I would just share my screen with your report, or you could share your screen with your report, and you would just kind of talk about it for a couple of minutes, why you chose the design, movement, or style that you did. And that's an extra credit opportunity. I know it's kind of last minute, and I didn't mention it before because I did not know what this week was going to look like because of my traveling schedule. But if either of you who have turned it in would like to, you know, do a little Zoom present, just send me a chat, and then we can do that at the end. So that said, anyone have questions at all? Any questions about the class, the format? Everybody's doing really good in Canvas and all of the software. Everybody's got the software now. I know because you guys have all done your Creative Cloud assignment. It looks like things are working well with that too. So as far as the content for this week, Graphic Design 101, like I said, it is an absolute ton of information. I go over all of the basics of everything. Thanks, Morgan. Everything that you need to know to design digitally and give you the basics, the foundation. There's a quiz, and Bryson has created a Quizlet for it. So he is going to post that, and that will help tremendously. If you have already taken it and you want another opportunity to take it, if you've already used up your 2, just let me know, and I can change the tries that you get, because to me, this information is so important. And if the Quizlet helps you to learn it, and if reading the lecture helps you to learn it, and if retaking the quiz helps you to learn this information and retain it, then I am very happy to do so. The lecture is reflective of the PowerPoint that I have, and I have a PDF version of that if anyone prefers that, but it's pretty much all there in the whatchamacallit, in the Canvas lecture version of it. I am going to just share my screen with you guys once more. I had my PowerPoint running at the beginning kind of time, and I want to just go through it really quickly, and you guys will have to turn your speaker on. I'm gonna move you guys up here to my other screen. Turn your speaker on and speak up if you have questions about any of the things on the screen, so that I will know to answer. And I'm gonna just share my PowerPoint. This one, share. And I'm not gonna do it as a slideshow because I want to move that. Okay, so right now you guys see Graphic Design 101 concepts and terms, just a title page, right? Okay, cool. I am just gonna click manually through it. Okay, so it starts with the basics, with resolution, which can be a really tricky concept to wrap your head around. Resolution is what makes your image, gives it quality, gives it sharpness, gives it detail, and it's different from on the screen as it is for print. And I think it's interesting because in this day and age, we look at so much on our screens that it's hard to reconcile why, when something looks so good on the screen, does it print and look super fuzzy. And you can see in this little illustration with ours what happens when there's fewer and fewer pixels, the little dots that make up the image, in a square inch. So we could go on about this forever. It's a complicated concept, or it's a real simple concept. 72 points per inch is standard for screen. You remember that, and remember that 300 is standard for print, and you'll be just fine. So that's where it starts off. We get into color modes. Again, it's different for screen than for print, and you just kind of have to memorize what's what. Normally for color modes, I bust out my my Pantone books, which are these really super fun swatch books, and I think I have one handy, but it might be in the closet. Have any of you guys seen Pantone swatch books before? Yes and no? I'm gonna grab them really quick. Let me let this play as a slideshow really quick. And I'm gonna grab them because they're fun to look at and I wanna show you guys. I'll be right back. Okay, so let me just stop the screen share for a minute. Being a lover of graphic design and print design, it kind of started with a love of paper and notebooks and really cool, cute designed things. And then it turned into a love for the software and the Macintosh computer. I started working on a Mac in like 87 or 86 in junior high, one of the little square box ones. And it was so much fun that I just couldn't get enough of it. This is a Pantone swatch book, and look at it. It's super fun. It's these are all ink colors. So as you'll read in the lecture, instead of creating colors by building something out of RGB or CMYK, these are actually solid inks that come in tens of thousands of colors and finishes, whether it's glossy, matte, a metallic, or a neon. And these are not universal, but a worldwide. I want to say universal, but just on Earth. These are used in all countries across the board, which is also really cool. And it kind of is a tie that binds for color in graphic design. So these are super fun. I have a whole set of them. So, you know, fun stuff. And you can get them on eBay and play with them used. They update their colors on a regular basis, and these little swatch books actually have a shelf life because the ink will start to fade. And so, as with anything printed, in order for it to be accurate, you've got to go with something that's fresh, and also you've got to, what do you call it, calibrate your screen, because your screen is just emulating the color. So these are all things to keep in mind when you're designing, whether your final product is going to be something for print or something for web. Web simplifies things tremendously because what you see is what you get. You're working on a screen and your end product is going to be shown on a screen. The only thing that could be a variable when designing for a screen is what kind of screen people are going to be viewing it on. So it's more of a orientation and a size. You guys got all messed up here. A size difference rather than a color difference, but it's all super interesting. It's in the lecture. It's a lot of information. Like I said, I'm going to share my screen again so we can keep going. Oops. PowerPoint, share. So resolution, you guys can see the PowerPoint again? Yeah, okay. So resolution and color are tied together right off the bat. It's something that you need to decide whether you're going to be designing for print or for web. And so these are foundational things that you guys, that I want you to learn right off the bat before we start designing for ourselves. So like I said, this information is all in the Canvas. But here is the next big concept, which is the difference between a rasterized image and a vector image. Is anyone familiar with those terms yet, besides those of you who've already taken the quiz?
I am.
Okay, yeah. Who was that? I missed it.
Zach.
Hey, Zach. Do you want to give like a brief kind of what your thoughts are on that?
Sure, yeah, I guess. So a rasterized image is an image made of actual individual pixels. If you scale it big, you'll have pixels and it'll look blocky, and you'll see those. It won't look like the image you're wanting it to be, depending on how you're scaling it. While a vector image is made up of various shapes made mathematically, generally speaking. And because of that, they have infinite resolution. No matter how much you scale it, it will always look smooth.
That's exactly right. And the reason that it's important to know that and why we talk about it right off the bat is because, again, when you're designing a project, you need to decide what you're ending. If you're designing, a billboard and you need it to be, 30 feet wide, it's probably not going to work with, a 4-inch by 6-inch photo that is made of pixels that can only be sized up so far without those pixels stretching and stretching like we see in the little R um, infographic, so that it blows it out. And software wise, Photoshop is our raster based software. Everything that you create in Photoshop is created with pixels for the most part. The end product out of Photoshop is with pixels. You can add fonts and add types, and you can actually draw vector shapes in Photoshop. But once you save that out, your end product is a rasterized, pixel-based product. Illustrator is where you get your vector and where you work with what you'll see, and what it always reminds me of kind of a dot-to-dot situation where you've got points with lines connecting the points to make shapes. And that is vector, and it's mathematically created, it's software, it's computer, it's precise, and you can scale that up to 100 feet wide without losing any resolution because it's not made of pixels. So again, when you're first starting a project, these are the questions you need to ask yourself. What is my end product? Is it going to be for print? Is it going to be for screen? Is it going to be for both? If you're designing something that's going to be printed and for screen, you want to design in the highest resolution possible so that it can print at the highest resolution possible. If you design at 72 DPI, knowing that it's going to print and go on screen, you can't size it up. You can't add pixels, but you can definitely take pixels away. So you're going to want to know what color mode to use, and you're going to want to know if the artwork lends itself to vector, where there is, it is kind of hard lines and hard edges and kind of a certain look, or if you're going to want to do something that's, more photo based. So that's why I'm introducing you guys to all of these concepts. Another really important thing, and it kind of goes back to some of the stuff that we were doing last week with file management, but it's another kind of computer, and you just kind of have to memorize it, type of information, and that is file formats. So again, it's rasterized versus vector, the file formats, and it's for screen or for print. So just kind of take in the information, use Bryson's Quizlet to kind of reiterate it and practice it, and then take the quiz and let me know if you want, to take it again. This information, it's a lot of information, but it doesn't change. This is the same information I learned 20 years ago, and it's the same information that I use every time I start a new project. So it's really important. File size is a cool little indicator of how high the resolution of an image is. The lower the file size, the smaller the actual proportions and ratio of the dots per inch or the pixels per inch. So that's kind of why we touch on this. If you are, like I said, the billboard example, if you're designing a billboard and someone sends you a logo that's only 127 kilobytes, you can probably bet that it's not going to be able to be sized up, to 30 feet wide and be able to be used on a billboard because it's teeny tiny. So the lower the resolution, the smaller your file size, which is great for emailing. It's great for web. It's great for loading quickly on a website. So these are other things that you've got to keep an eye on and be aware of. The type of file, file format, and then also kind of the size of your file. A little bit of info on sending art to print. Because I love print, this stuff fascinates me, but just give it a read. And I've got lots of examples for you. and then some information on designing for a screen, where again, your PPI is going to be 72, and it's going to be your dimensions that change, your resolution, depending on what you're designing for. And there's a ton of helpful things out there as far as when you're designing for screen, because it always changes. With new technology, you've got new devices and you've got different screen sizes, and Instagram decides to go, full screen rather than just square, and that changes again. So these are things that anytime someone asks you to design a social media post or an electric billboard or a commercial, like a video commercial, you're going to want to go check where it's going to be seen and what resolution it's going to be seen at before you start designing. Every single bit of information in this week's lecture are the things that you want to know before you start designing your project. So I know that's a lot. I just gave you guys a quick overview, and I wanted to just emphasize why I'm teaching you what I'm teaching you this week. So does anyone have comments or questions about these things? And these are literally the questions that I ask my clients when we start a project. How are you going to distribute this raw Word document that you sent me that you want to turn into, an annual report? Is it going to be actually a printed report, or are you just going to send a PDF out to all of your clients? Are you going to publish it as an ebook on your website where they just flip through it, or is it going to be a slideshow? Because a lot of times, especially these days, you will get instructions to do a brochure, to do a flyer, to do a catalog, but it won't actually be a printed product. They'll actually just want to distribute it digitally. So ask these questions, kind of learn these concepts and terms, because every project you design, you're going to need to know these information, and the sooner you know it, the better, because you don't want to design thinking that it's going to be on a website only to find out that they want to print it. And then you've got to go back and find high resolution images for everything that you've used, or completely change your approach. So that said, it takes us to the design, style, and movement portion of this week's Zoom. And this is just kind of a good way to get out there, give you guys a bit of incentive to research and learn a little bit about the history of design, how long it's been around, how long, when advertising first became a thing, and then graphic design was kind of born out of that. I have two students who would like to share their report, Morgan and Riley. And would you guys like me to share what you turned in from Canvas, or would you like to share your screen? Morgan, you're first.
I'll just share my screen.
Share your screen? Okay, let me make sure I have it turned on so that you can. All participants. Okay, well, Morgan is going to share her design, style, or movement report. She's going to share her screen and let us know what she chose and why she chose it.
Okay, give me just a second. So here's my report that I did. I chose the style Art Nouveau because I took ceramics classes in high school, and we studied like some art history, and one artist that we focused a lot on was Alphonse Mucha, who kind of was a big part of this movement. I think it's really like an interesting movement, and one of the defining characteristics is the organic line. Um, I just think this is also interesting because it kind of is a little bit of a ecofeminist movement. If you're familiar with that ideology, it has a heavy emphasis on nature and women. So I think that's an interesting intersection of things, ideas and
Show us
concepts.
your samples. The samples.
Yeah, here's one example. This is Alphonse Mucha, and it's actually an advertisement, which I think it's just really cool that you can create an advertisement that's this beautiful. So that's one thing that I like. Here's another one. I thought this was interesting because it was black and white, which is a little bit different. And then I also have this one, which is really cool that it's all like blue and yellow. I thought that looked really interesting. So that's my movement and my examples.
I love it. It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much for sharing. And I'm going to make a note to myself. Um, on the assignment page for the design movement style movement report, there's a couple of links that will get you guys started for getting out there and seeing what you like. But there's a ton of stuff, and it's really fun. And you can find one and then just kind of Google that term, and then, you know, as Morgan did, find an artist that you like and are excited by. Make sure you add images like Morgan did, because that lets me know that you've actually seen and are kind of, I can see what you're talking about as well. So, okay, Riley, you're next. Do you want to do the same and share your screen, or would you like me to share your report out of Canvas?
I think I can share mine.
Okay.
Just to see where, or you might be able to. I don't know where the share button is.
It should be in the middle of the bottom of your
Oh,
Zoom
there it is.
screen. Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Perfect.
Okay. Right, so it's kind of small, but so I did my design style and movement report on minimalism. It's because when I was looking at different designs and styles, that's one that I was constantly drawn to, and that may be partially because that's what I've kind of been doing in my artwork over the years, and just in my lifestyle, you know, that's just the kind of thing that I'm drawn to. And so when I was looking into it, I kind of learned more about its history. I learned that it was actually kind of became a thing in the 1950s and 60s is when it was being developed. I don't know why exactly, but I learned that, and that was kind of interesting. I also learned that it has become a huge influence in things outside of art design, like fashion and interior design. You'll find people like that have these houses that have crisp, clean lines and colors that all work together. That it's just smooth and minimal. I really like minimalism because it just has a professional feel to it, and its simplicity doesn't overwhelm you. I also like that it can kind of just draw your focus to something and really help you be able to see it and be able to understand it better. So these are the samples that I did of it, and so I really like this just because of its shape and the colors that it has. And it's kind of a striking image, and I also chose this one. I love the detail in it, and I also love how simple it is. I don't have any examples of my artwork right now, but I can show you one. I have a picture on the wall.
Oh yeah.
Can you see that?
Yes.
I got this at Disneyland recently, and it's a picture of Lilo and Stitch. I got it drawn up for myself at Disneyland, and I really like it because it's a different kind of minimalism, but it's still simple and elegant in a way. So
very cool. Great. Yeah, I am a big fan of minimalism too. Next week, you will be doing our first contemporary or historical review, where I give you some examples. It's going to be under the advertising category. So we're going to be looking at some existing historical ads. I can't remember if I have you, and I have you pick an ad, but there'll be 3, and you use what you've learned in design concepts, and then next week in elements and principles to kind of write up a little, here's what I think of this ad, and here's what I saw. But one of the ads that we do is a minimalism ad, and it was from the 50s. So very, very well done, both of you. Thank you very much presenting and for giving us all a little bit of that insight. I always love to hear why students chose the movement or style that they did, and I love to see the examples you find. I love that geometrical with the landscape in it, Riley, that you found, and also the one with the moons. Very cool. And Morgan, I'm a big fan of, and it was at, they had him at the Crocker. They did an exhibit of, what's his name? He's a Art Nouveau artist that did like he did that black cat. It's kind of a famous, is it Toulouse-Lautrec maybe? Or I feel like, but they had all, and it was like early graphic design, and it was where they use really beautiful, like hand-drawn or hand-painted, very organic feeling illustrations, and just a little bit of words. They're usually hand-lettered words, and it was early graphic design, just very cool stuff. And they just look like works of art. So I love that you guys chose two totally opposite design movements. I think that was very cool also. So thank you very much. That's all I have for this week. I'm going to open it up to questions. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording so that we can just do any kind of Q&A that you guys need, or personal time. I'll be back on here at 5 for my office hours if you need to catch me then. And you guys are all doing great. Just keep up the good work, and I'm around if you need me.